Are you currently trying to implement a policy relating to collecting from your patients towards their deductibles? Are you feeling a little stuck and unsure about where to go and what direction to head in when you're trying to get started? If so, then today's video is exactly what you need to get you off on the right foot so you can start collecting towards deductibles and stop seeing patients for free in deductible season. Let's dive into the content. Hi, my name is Jasmine Feliz, and I have more than 2 decades of experience in the business of healthcare. Here on this channel, my mission is to alleviate the stress and confusion in the business of healthcare while improving the patient's experience and the delivery of patient care. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you like today's content, please consider subscribing and ringing that notification bell so that you can stay connected to our content and be plugged in each and every time we go live and post a new video. Before you get started on collecting from your patients, the very first thing that you're going to want to do is to create your own policy. You need to determine what the policy is in your practice internally that you will follow to help your front desk discern how much and when to collect from your patients. So the very first thing that you'll need to do in your policy is decide what the threshold is for your patient's deductibles. If the patient has a high deductible, what will be the policy? And if they have a low deductible, what will be the steps that the front desk will take? If a patient has a small, for example, deductible remaining for this current plan year or calendar year, then perhaps you don't want your front desk collecting anything towards that deductible, especially if you know that a patient has been seeing other providers during this plan or calendar year in recent weeks, because you might be over collecting towards that deductible that will be applied to another provider's visits. Next, you're going to want to educate your team. After you have your policy established, you're going to need to make sure your team is clear on the policy and the why behind certain pieces of your policy. And you're going to want to do this not just one time, but on a regular basis and periodically throughout the year, especially when you are onboarding new team members. At this moment, when you're educating your team, you're going to want to answer clarifying questions for them. If they have questions as to why a certain policy has been implemented or exactly how to implement it, this would be a good time for you to workshop and support them in their confidence in understanding and representing your policy at the front desk. Once you have answered these questions for them, it will give them more confidence to collect on your behalf. You'll also want to address some things that often are not reinforced, which are the understanding why we have deductibles and when those deductibles reset and what happens at that time when those deductibles reset. You'll also want to address everyone's understanding on the possibility of them resetting on a calendar basis versus a plan year basis. So make sure you support your team and their educational journey so that they can be more equipped to collect confidently at the front. Okay, you have educated your team after creating your policy. Now it's time to educate your patients. You need to ensure that they are clear about when this particular policy applies to them and how they're going to be needing to pay for the care when they come into the office. Most patients do not have a problem paying for the necessary care. However, the problems comes up when you try to collect this amount without informing them in advance. Just letting them know that this policy exists and it applies to them is going to save you a lot of heartache and potentially have more success for you when you are collecting the deductibles after the visit if you haven't fully collected upfront. So be sure that you spend the time with your patients, provide the policies to them in documentation in your financial policies, but when they apply for your particular patient's situation or insurance, you're going to want to educate them on a one-off basis. And who is educating them? Ideally, your front desk, which is why you're spending the time with that team to establish their understanding and make sure they have confidence in entire deductible process and policy so that they can confidently collect from your patients and speak from a place of knowledge and confidence. Next, you're going to want to make sure you know your average reimbursement per visit for both your new patients and a typical established patient visit, because this will help you determine about how much you would want to collect from your patient each visit that they are coming in that is meeting their deductible or going towards meeting their deductible. Okay. So it's very important that you know your average patient reimbursement for that particular plan, or an average for all of your plans combined, is the logic you'll want to use when establishing an estimated total or an estimated amount to collect from your patients that have a deductible. If you think about the average, it will help from both new patients and established patients. It will help you operate from a clear place, and that will allow you to feel comfortable and confident with not under collecting or over collecting. Once you have a clear picture of what your average is, you're going to communicate that to your front desk very clearly and let them know the situations in which perhaps one average, maybe for a new patient, would apply, and another average perhaps for that established patient, when those amounts would differ. Is very important to make sure they are clear as to which one will apply. Once you have established these averages, you're documenting this so that your front desk is supported with this clear language right in front of them. And so they can once again establish a clear, confident relationship with your patients related to this financial expectation. Okay, so you have taken the steps towards collecting from your patients, and now you have collected towards that deductible, which is fantastic. The very last tip I have for you is extremely important. You want to make sure that you reconcile your patients' accounts so that you can identify when they have overpaid or underpaid. And you have already communicated to your patients that what was collected was an estimate. So they are anticipating either a bill in the mail to signify that they need to pay more, or they are receiving a notification that they have a credit and potentially being issued a refund check or a refund payment or a credit towards future supplies or services with your practice. So it's extremely important that you take the step to reconcile, because you have already told your patients that you're collecting an estimate. Now their insurance has processed their claim and they received an EOB, which told them how much they were supposed to pay at that time of service. So following through with honoring your commitment to keep them in the loop and being fully transparent with the financial expectations, you are going to reconcile by giving them either that refund, or you are sending them the statement to let them know what they owe. I truly hope that you found today's video helpful. Let me know by giving me a thumbs up and telling me in the comments below. You can also pop a question in the comments below so that I can circle back with a unique curated video to answer your question. Listen, if you found this type of content helpful, then don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you can be told and notified when we go live and post videos, which is on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for being here. And if you are interested in going a lot deeper in your learning and understanding in the business of healthcare, then you might consider joining our communities online, or joining and taking a look at our programs and courses that we have in the card up here or in the description box below. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.